There you have the Irish tenors, people. Welcome, welcome in. Robert Imbriali here. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited because we have a friend who joining us from Ireland, of all places. You're going to like this interview. I think we're going to have a lot of fun today. I'm looking forward to hearing what our buddy Mark Atwood has to share. He's always got a lot of great stuff to share with us. So let's get started. I think Lewis has got something queued up for us right here. Uh, Let's see. Are we ready with this? Yeah, we are ready. Okay. Let's play this intro, and then we'll bring on Lewis, and then we'll bring on our guest, Mark Atwood. Let's do it. Outstanding. Lewis, welcome in. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing amazing. Just trying to, hold on, got to get rid of this. Boom. Awesome. How about you?
Doing very well, thank you. Lewis is doing a lot of production help in the background today, as you can see. Good to have a little help once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm excited
Not all on
for
your
our
shoulders.
guest today. We have a great interview coming up, and really excited to have
Me-
our buddy
me
come on
too.
join us.
You should have seen the box of tissues he was going through during Old Danny Boy. That was awesome. Let's bring on our buddy Mark Atwood.
Hey, Mark, welcome in. Are you muted, Mark? You are muted.
Oh, just the way we like him.
Yeah. Two crackers at the start of the show.
Yes.
How's it going, guys?
Very well. How are you?
Awesome.
I'm very, very well. I was just yes, so the Danny Boy was beautiful. Very nice touch. I was looking at the waterfall there. That's Glencar Waterfall, which is just down the road in that video, where there was a Yeats poem. I think it's very interesting because it was stuck on the wall there, and yeah, this is the land of Yeats, obviously, with the other poet from this country.
Wow.
The other poet.
The other, there's only
Other
two.
poet. There's only two.
Irish,
Yes, exactly.
yeah. Ireland doesn't have a very rich heritage, so there's just two poets.
Oh, it really does. The heritage. Yes.
It's amazing, right?
Oh,
It could be Israel, by the way.
well, yes, there is that. I was actually saying that to my boy. Today's been 100% dad, and took the boys on a 4-hour car drive to go swimming in a lake. And we were doing that in the car. I said, how do you spell Israel? Well, they were asking me about L. I was asking them about the word L because they were showing me Superman Legacy, the trailer, or the pictures from the set. And I said, what's Superman's real name? They went, Kal. And I went, where do you think the L comes from? They went, I don't know. I said, how do you spell Israel? They went, I said, there's 3 words in Israel. They went, what are they? I went, Is, Ra, El. And they went, oh, what does that mean? Well, El is short for Elohim. Who were their Elohim? Well, they were in the Bible. They were the big bad. That's in the Bible. 900 books taken out the Bible in 325, whatever, approximately AD from the Council of Nicaea. Why did they do that? To control the population data. Yes. So it's funny you mentioned that.
They're getting it.
That's the average day for me.
That's the average thing. If you want to go swimming, you need to listen to 4 hours of conspiracy facts.
Be a offspring of Mark Atwood. My daughter's going through the same thing. She's 17, and I took her and some friends to a cafe recently, and she's spitting facts at them, and they're not interested at all. And she's getting really cross. And I'm looking at her going, "Oh shit, what have I created?"
Have you ever taught your kids about the direct connection between Ireland, the Druids, and Hollywood?
No, not specifically that. But they have been party to some of the stuff that I've got from the books, Esoteric Hollywood, and they can't watch a film. They can't watch a film with me without me talking about the meanings and the
Okay, cool.
So they would make very good film critics because they get that chat every time we look at a Marvel film or anything. So
Oh, very cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting to mention the Druids though. I'll pause because you've got something to say.
well, I just thought I think based on my study that Hollywood was actually built based on Druidic principles.
Yeah, Holy Wood, the
Yep.
magic wand.
Yep, and it just goes so deep with their casting, their programming. I mean, it's just crazy. Of course, spelling, anything in Hollywood, their names always go back to spell casting. It's pretty crazy.
So that is amazing synchronicity because you know, me and a guy called Gary built a healing center, excuse me, in the west of Ireland last year. Well, we're about to hugely expand it. We started with hyperbaric oxygen. We're now doing light therapy, sound beds, red light therapy, PEMF. We're going to build the first steam room, I think. We can't find a steam room anywhere which is not pumping shit water into them.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So, we're making water. So we're going to have clean, and we're not necessarily deuterium depleted, but we're going to have clean, alive water with minerals in the steam room. Because when people go to steam rooms, they think, and saunas, they think they're having a health, but they get impregnated with the stuff that's in the water, fluoride,
Right.
chlorine, etc.
The chlorine, yeah, which by the way turns into chloroform when it goes through steam, and it's horrible for you. Absolutely.
Precisely. So we're building all of that, and through a load of synchronicities, I got an email from a subscriber who said, you need to speak to this guy, Simon. So I rang Simon. He's a water baby. He's like for nearly 30 years, he's been running a business in Ireland, which is the wettest country in the world with the worst water in the world, right? The tap water here is, most people know the tap water here is shocking, but they don't. So they go and buy drinking water from the gas station instead of, and then they still bathe in it. So it's shocking how badly poisoned people are in this country. And he's got a business selling water filters for the home and hydrogen machines for the home and all of that kind of thing. We got chatting, and then he started talking about the consciousness of water, and I was very interested in this and conversation. And I said, well, how do you know about this? Because you're the first guy in Ireland I've met who knows about this stuff, because we're very interested in having living water going through the healing center being built into it, so that the vortex is in the middle and they've got the water going around the whole building. And he said, well, actually, it was this druidic, Celtic druid that he knew. And then he pointed me to him. And then it turns out he's 25 minutes away. So we went to meet him. And relating to what you just said about the druids, we found out through working with him, because he's now acting as a consultant on the healing center, because we want to bring the ancient knowledge in to this as much as possible. Then he researched this town. And you've all heard of St. Patrick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So St. Patrick is a completely made-up character based upon the guy that actually went around Ireland raping and pillaging the whole country and putting fear into everybody. And the reason they chose the word Patrick is because it's short for patrician. Patrician is the name given to the higher echelons of Roman society. So this was a Roman general, right, with esoteric knowledge. Because as it turns out, in this town, down the river that runs through the middle of it, literally just down the road from where we built the healing center, which is hilarious, which is why you've got St. Patrick's Day all over the world being celebrated by Irish people all over the world, completely unaware of the fact that they're giving energy and celebrating this guy. But apparently, he put a curse on this whole area. And then we went through a whole ceremony to reverse the curse, release the curse, and do all of that with the water, which has just been amazing. So yeah, funny that you mentioned the druids there, because there's a healing well here that's been covered up with concrete and a concrete cross, which is the other thing I was going to mention about that Danny Boy video, because in the Danny Boy video, there was a beautiful shot of the Giant's Causeway, which is about 4 hours north of here. But anybody watching in the United States that comes to visit Ireland, if you do go to see the Giant's Causeway, don't go to the visitor center, because that's full of lies. And I call it the same as the cross on the healing well. It's rewriting history in bricks and mortar. The same as the Titanic Museum in Belfast is full of bullshit.
Yeah,
that's not telling the true story. And I think it's important to share these things, because when we wake up to that, we realize that we're surrounded by history being rewritten, not just at schools, in the books, on the TV, in the movies and everything else, but it's literally physically being rewritten in front of us with things like visitor centers and museums and crosses on top of ancient wells and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, interesting synchronicity.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's all inversion. That's their number one play is in inversion. They've done it. It looks like with St. Patrick and St. Nicholas. The inversion is Ignatius Loyola is an absolute creepazoid, and he's vaulted as being somebody amazing. Oh, who knows about Mother Teresa? I mean, it's all inversion, inversion, inversion.
You mean Mr. Fauci?
Yeah, exactly, Mr. Fauci. So there's actually modern day active inversion going on. Let me give an example. The Food and Drug Administration, to protect you, does exactly the opposite, right?
Mhm.
They spray pesticides to protect you. It poisons you. Big pharma's to protect you. It poisons you. The education's to educate you. It indoctrinates you. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. It's all inversion, but ultimately what it is, and this is where I get a little esoteric, it's spell casting. That's what it is.
Well, even you just said big pharma. I think they actually like that name because they are farmers as well as farmer. We're the cattle on the farm.
We
and
are.
They are the farmers, and I know that it comes from the Greek for farmer,
Right, pharmakia.
which means magic. And
Yep.
yeah, so it's all there. It's great when you know it, though, isn't it? Because you can see it, you can tell the kids, and they're TikTok's waking the kids up. They're getting this knowledge all over. It's a genie that's out the bottle. The truth is unstoppable. We're just frustrated because we're ahead of the curve. We want everybody to catch up, but it is actually getting out there.
You're right. That is what the frustration is just because we know it. So we're like, why isn't it done yet? Right. But what's interesting though is I have a lot of fun with it. I think I mentioned this yesterday. If I love going to movies, and
So do I.
I don't care if they're cabal movies or not, because I immediately can pick out the difference. And one of my guilty pleasures is I love watching nature documentaries with Richard Attenborough, right?
No, David
Attenborough, and I just love it, just love it, right? But they always have to weave in whatever you're seeing is always man-made climate change. That's the game that they play. So
David Attenborough is actually well known as a eugenicist.
Right? Yeah, I know it goes so deep.
And he's the guy that set up BBC Two in 1966. BBC Two is another mind control channel to capture the more educated people, and David Attenborough is a big part of all of that.
That would be our version of NPR.
I don't know what's NPR.
NPR's National Public Radio, but it's broadcasting, and they do television programs too, and they draw you in with the more sophisticated.
Yeah, like PBS.
Right, exactly. Same thing as PBS. They draw you into sophistication, and then boom.
But they're the worst. The ones that are the most educated are the worst.
They're the worst.
That's why I took great pleasure this Saturday. We just held an event in the local pub, and we got Professor Ian McDermott, a Harley Street knee surgeon, to fly over and give an amazing talk for 2 hours in a pub in the middle of this town, which was mind-blowing because the normal satanic shills that have closed down loads of attempts at live events in Ireland in the last couple of years, they rang the pub and said, you can't put that event on, blah, 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 blah. And the landlady just went, fuck off.
I love that. Oh, it's so true though. The labels that fly our way are because we're actually the opposite.
I know,
isn't that? It's just crazy. It's the completely the opposite. But
well, you have to deal with it. I mean, I get called all sorts, and I got called a name. I got called there's a woman in Ireland called Gemma Doherty. She's been around for a long time. And when I first moved to Ireland about 7 or 8 years ago, I could see her out there calling out the government. And I was like, and I wrote to her and I said, can I help you in any way? Because I've got all this internet marketing experience. I can help you get your message out. Got the worst email I've ever received in my life from her that actually made me recoil I was like, what? What the hell did I do to deserve that? And she did a hit piece on me last year. And she commented on Twitter this morning saying that I was a military psyop, or I was working for the intelligence agencies. And I said, what are you talking about? So I invited her, come and meet me face to face. Let's film it, get all these accusations out.
Because it's ridiculous. And as we're seeing now, the blacks are rising up for Trump because Trump's done more for the blacks than any previous president in the last 50 years. So it's very interesting though, but if I'm going to be honest, I have a lot of fun. I keep my vibration very high, but I get very, very frustrated. And I get triggered with these people. Like today, somebody's in my chat giving me excuses why they can't rise up and make a difference.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting. And I told this story to my wife this morning, and I'll tell it here, I think. So I used to own gyms and run gyms, manage and troubleshoot fitness clubs. That's what I did for years and years and years.
I need you for the healing center then.
Okay. So that's what I did. And I'm very successful at it. I mean, 24-hour fitness, I was actually their troubleshooter. So they had a club at the bottom. They'd bring me in. I'd bring it to the top. I'd go to the next one. So that was my expertise. And one thing that I noticed, the psychology of the consumer is very interesting. There's actually a subset of society that would be very out of shape, whether it's diabetes or very overweight, whatever it is. And their reason for coming into the gym to pursue a membership had nothing to do with buying a membership or getting healthy. It had to do with, I need to find an excuse to tell my family and friends why I can't join a gym. So we would go through situations, and I would get to a point, because I knew what their motivation was, where I'd say, I'll tell you what, here's a 30-day free membership. We're going to give you some training with that. You don't have to sign anything except a release. That's it. We'll even give you nutritional advice. And they said no.
Yeah.
They said no and no and no. Because what they're hoping is, and some of them got it, is they would get us frustrated, right? We'd give them attitude, and then they would go back and say, oh, they're horrible people. They mistreated me. It took 5 minutes for them to see me at the front desk. Yeah, but I can't ever work with a place like that. Or it's dirty. You know, they'd make up things. That's exact same mentality I'm seeing in the Patriot movement right now. And
100%.
It's unfortunate. Instead of using your time to see how you can be productive and participate and make a difference, they're literally spending their time making up excuses and posts and justifying their inaction.
Yeah.
And we've given them so many ways and so many tools. And around September 1st, we're going to literally lay out a playbook. And there never could be excuse again. They're going to have a playbook of, you could do this, this, and this, and this, and this. I'm sorry, what's the problem now? Right? Because I feel like we have to start hand feeding some of this stuff. And that's my frustration. And I do show it, and I don't apologize for it. But that's my frustration, because I do believe God has already won, but we have to ante up and kick in order to reap the harvest.
Well, it's all about action. You know, I was thinking about this in the car earlier, because I've done of attraction and manifesting, and how great big chunks were missing from the great works like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, or The Secret, Rhonda Byrne. What's that say? Liberal tears. I thought it said liberal tea. Because the thing that's missing is the belief and the action and the lack of fear. Because, you know, and people are, it's interesting when you say like infiltration within the, you know, I don't like calling it a movement, but I guess it is. But the infiltration is really about demonic possession and entities. And that's the great realization I had a number of years ago, that the whole human race has been held in place by, you know, because it's an invisible prison, right? It's, you know, the boys again were saying, I'd like to be a sheep in another life. I said, you already are. I went, I'm not a sheep. Yes, you are. You just, and I pointed at these sheep. We just saw loads of sheeps in that video, Danny Boy. And I said, that sheep's in a field and it's got walls and fences. That's exactly what's going on here. It's just that you can't see them. And they were laughing. And I said, oh, it's true, boys. And you need to understand it. You need to be able to see through it. And how have they held us into place? Well, the entities try to attack us as soon as we're born, or even before we're born. And they create they nudge you this way. They whisper in your ear. They come through your friends and family. They you know, create narcissistic parents, alcoholic parents, narcissistic friends, bullies, all these things to batter you into a position where, and at the same time feeding you constantly utter nonsense, like, you know, this world is limited, the world is dying, oil's running out. I mean, when I was in the 70s, we were told the oil would be run out by 1980. Hello? McFly, you know, and what I was thinking about Al Gore today. What was it, 20 years ago, 15 years ago? He said we'd all be underwater 5 years ago, and that's the guy who actually won the presidency.
Kind of. Yeah.
Well, he did, didn't he?
But no, he remember he was the hanging Chad loser to George Bush, which that was another diversionary divide conquer. But you know why we kept finding oil though? They found there's this secret island called Jurassic park that had a whole bunch of dinosaurs they didn't know about, right? So they just extracted the oil from them. I mean, so probably on the other side of the ice wall, there's a bunch of dinosaurs lined up, ready to give us more oil.
Yeah, they're shitting oil out over there. That's why
they've got it.
That's what the Antarctica Treaty is all about.
Exactly.
We don't want you to see the oil dinosaurs.
That's right.
The oilosaurs.
It's called the Petropolis.
What do you call a blind dinosaur?
I don't know.
Do you think he saw us?
Say it again.
Do you think he saw us?
Oh, you think you saw us? Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Well, the dinosaurs are completely made up. So
hey, let me show something on my screen, and you tell me what this is all about, if you could.
Oh yeah, that's a book by Abby Wynn and Mark Atwood. Yeah, so Abby's one of the friends I've made since doing my podcast, who's a shamanic spiritual healer based in Dublin, and she came on my show a couple of years ago, and we did a film about soul retrieval, and we just turns out we'd had similar life experiences and a lot of crossed paths a lot of times, although she makes a living as a healer and I don't. And she rang me last year and she said people are really struggling with protection and spiritual protection. Now, I've talked about that quite a bit on my show, but it's not the focus of my show. And I said, yeah, I agree with you, because there's people, thousands of emails every week from people saying this is happening, that's happening, help me, help me, help me. And so I said, yeah, well, let's do a book. So we brought this out a couple of weeks ago. I sent one to you, but it hasn't arrived yet, but it's gone down very well so far. And we decided to, although it is an actual physical book, which you can see here, I decided that we needed to make it free for people that need it if they're on low income. So it's a donation base to get the ebook. And on that page, they can get other things if they want. There's an audio book we recorded that's 8 hours long. There's a video series, which is 6 hours long. There's a guidebook, a word book, a workbook, and there's loads of stuff on meditations on there, but that's all optional. And then also, if you claim the free ebook and want to get the book itself, then we give you the links where to get that from. And in the process of doing that, I think I've reinvented the publishing industry for self-published authors, which is, I've been publishing magazines and books since I was 18. And Abby was the only Hay House author, I think one of two only Hay House authors based in Ireland. So she's had a long history of publishing books and writing books. So we're gonna run a class on how to publish books, but in the meantime, get this book. It's phenomenal, and even if you don't, well, I'm saying it's phenomenal. I wrote half of it, but I mean, if you
well, half of it's phenomenal is what you're saying. I get it.
Well, half of it's phenomenal, and the other half that Abby wrote is even more phenomenal.
Oh, okay, you're both phenomenal.
There's Abby there. No, she's amazing to work with, because she does all the bits I don't like, and I do the bits she doesn't like. But
that's awesome.
And it's a really handy. It's called Practical Tools for Spiritual Warfare, Weapons of Mass Protection. Kind of a little dig, who, and Weapons of Mass Destruction. So I'm inverting it back at them, because that was all demonic shit. And really, it's just for people who want to learn how to protect themselves and realize they're not alone. And, that's what this has been the last 4 years, is really making sure it's gone quiet. It's gone quiet. Hello? You still there?
I know.
Oh, maybe that was just a noise in my ears. So many people. I'm glad you showed the trailer to the Truth Tour 2 bit that we did, because, when, like, that scene when we met that woman in Oregon, hello, if you're watching this, hope you're doing well. That was really touching that day, because that's when I realized how useful the podcasts that people like me and you've been doing in the last 4 years have been, because of the isolation, because they wanted to isolate all this, star seeds, for want of a better term, because and I don't get married to any of these terms, by the way. That's just to make it easy for people to understand. The isolation was really important for them. That's why there was 6 feet, locked down, stay away, queue this way, don't stand next to people, all of that kind of stuff, because they were trying to break that connection and destroy our spirits. That's where they failed, but the attacks have not stopped. You know, for a lot of us, the attacks were incredibly intense, especially people who put their heads above the parapet. But other people who are not necessarily out there are still getting attacked on a daily basis. And those attacks manifest as illnesses and dis-ease as well, because really your body's a spiritual computer. And, you know, there's a great book I've got up here called which talks about German new medicine, which all proves that most diseases are caused by traumas, which is caused by the entities, which is why you need to know how to protect yourself, which is why we wrote this book.
I love it. In fact, I can't wait to read it, guys. I'll extract the link from Mark and we'll put it below in the description. Interesting.
I don't like the sound of Lewis extracting anything from me.
Yes, you do. You'll love it, actually. You'll learn to love it. So interesting enough, going into, I believe, yeah, it was Truth Tour 2. As you know, I believed a little bit about the demonic possession and the spell casting, but not a lot, right? My wife believed zero about it whatsoever. And then we ended up in Anaheim.
Oh.
And we actually saw the work of a coven of witches, and then we saw the protection of what I call the white spiritualists. Is very, very interesting. And it was like watching Harry Potter live in action. It was something that we've never seen before, but you could feel the spiritual attacks and then you can feel the light at the same time. It was amazing. So my wife came out of that going, oh my Lord, this stuff is real. Like real. I mean, there's a witch that was incantating in the corner that my wife confronted, which good for her, right? So this stuff is real, and the attacks, and that's one of the weapons that they have to come after us, is they constantly do the spell casting, this witching, and the demonic possession, which, by the way, is connected. The demons and the witches work symbiotically, right? And some are both, by the way. So interesting enough, I can tell you now, she recognizes that stuff a lot faster than I do, and I was farther advanced. So she's like just whipped past me, and she's like, "Oh, that's a spiritual attack. I wonder if there's a demonic possession there. That one doesn't make sense. Oh, would like you?" And she can see it like this. It blows me away because she opened her mind up to something she didn't believe at all, and now she's a conduit for looking at this stuff. So I can't wait for her and I. She doesn't even know the book's arriving. I was going to surprise her, but now I'm sure she'll watch this. She's watching it right now, and she'll say, "Hey, where's the book?" So she'll be looking for it. I'm looking for it. But guys, you got to get weapons of mass protection. We'll put the link below. And Mark didn't even have a clue I was going to bring up his book, because that's not what our relationship is. We just come on each other's shows. I just invite him on mine more than he invites me on his. So anyways. Which actually is not true. I think I've been on your show more times than you've been on mine. So that was just a fun fake. That was a fun fake jab.
I keep an eye on you. I know you're busy. You're doing great work. And, you know, I'm like, he'll call me when he misses me.
Exactly. So, anyways, that's phenomenal. So let's so I got a message from somebody yesterday that.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. Please. I just hold that thought, because I just want to tell the viewers, when I got back home, and I had, every time I closed my eyes after Anaheim, I had thousands and thousands of faces screaming, but I couldn't hear them. They were all screaming at me. And it was like they were behind a thick glass wall, like in an aquarium or something. And then Lewis rang me and told me about the 10,000 witches. And I was like, well, that's what I'm seeing. And that's when things really, I mean, you know, I don't talk about any of this stuff like I'm an expert. I've been under demonic attack my entire life, you know, and this happens, all of us have, you know. And one thing I'd say to anybody watching this that's like finds that scary or anything, don't worry about it, because their job is to put you into a state of guilt and shame. They're two of the biggest, that guilt, shame, and fear are three of the biggest weapons that they've had against us. And we have to let all of that go and forgive ourselves and forgive everybody, because that's how we move through this. So I just want to mention that, because when you rang me and told me about that, I was like, do you remember I said to you, well, that's what I'm seeing.
Yep.
For a week at least, I was seeing that every time I shut my eyes, which actually, and here's the other thing, before you carry on, this spiritual war has tempered us like steel in the fire. You know, these things are not something to be afraid of. This is part of the initiation that I think we're all going through in order to get through this, which is to the other side, which is going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. So I feel really, really blessed. I've had several spiritualists and staunch Christians come to me and offer me protection, and everybody around that I'm surrounded with, which is phenomenal. One of those people was, I believe it was a group of 5 that's constantly trying to, or is working on protecting us, right? And we have dozens out there. We are blessed beyond imagination that these people are always working, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. And it was a group of 5 that saw this, and then that's when I called you, and you're like, oh my Lord. And I don't name them on purpose because I don't need them to be attacked, right? But there's always people in the background that are just, we're so lucky through their prayer and their manifestation. They're always working so we can keep moving forward, which is fantastic. And I have the tools that I've learned how to protect myself spiritually, and they seem to work really well. And sometimes something gets through and penetrates. It's just where it is. So definitely excited about reading your book. But the stuff's real, and that's, if you had 5, maybe 10 years ago, somebody would have told me it's real, I probably would have shut the door. Okay, what are you, Jehovah's Witness? You know what I mean? I would have shut the door right on their face. Just stop. I don't want to hear that. But now it's absolutely real, and we're learning how important what we have between these 2 temples in relation to our heart and our gut is, that we have everything we need. God has made us so incredible. We just, and I think that's why we're being attacked so much. We, the people, I'm not talking about me and Mark, but just in general, the attack is so much because we're going through this ascension process. And the number one tool that we have against this satanic deep state new world order is discernment. That's the number one tool. So if I obviously God's love and prayer, yes, I know they always come back to me. You missed that, I get it, but I'm talking about our personal discernment is huge in this battle, and it's a lot of fun. So I wanted to tell you a quick thing about somebody from Ireland that contacted me yesterday. I talk about people constantly making excuses and apathy and so on and so forth. This person's a little different. They said they're from Ireland, and they're very depressed at the moment because they're fighting so hard, and they think the Irish people are so brainwashed that they often mention something and they just get verbally slapped down immediately, right? But I talk to you and you say you're seeing some progress and so on and so forth. What can you say to a person like that every time they're in Ireland and they try to mention something, and they said that people get very belligerent with them also, which I know that's part of the culture there. It's very outspoken, right? So what would you say to somebody like that?
Yeah, Ireland can be tricky in that respect, but there's a few things I'd say. Firstly, if you have any interest in how this really works, go and read a book called Island, Land of the Pharaohs, so that you can get an appreciation of the link to Egypt, but also the black magic that's been put on this country, because it's been it's like the patrician story I told you earlier. The reason why it's all to destroy the spiritual power of the land and the people connected to the land. The second thing I would say, and that's kind of like getting to understand the enemy, right? That's the first thing. And the level, everybody that is in Ireland from a spiritual level chose to be here, whether they have an Irish accent or not, because at this time, because this is one of the centers of the war. This is the heart chakra of the world. It's an extremely important place in that respect. So it is tough, but you are also the only person here. That's the other thing a lot of people don't realize and don't forget. We're all fractals of God, and everything that's happening to you is happening for you. Everything. And once people get their heads around that, the whole thing becomes a lot better and a lot easier to deal with. But again, I was saying to my boys today in the car on the journey, I said, young men in the world, and it's Ireland. You know, this is a tough place, and this is one of the reasons why we built the healing center here. And I was saying to my daughter, we've just installed this light therapy unit called the Roxiva, which rewires your synapses to get rid of depression. I mean, all of these, it's all to do with the water, the food, the media, everything, 5G, all of that. But also, you know, these things kept, so we're trying to push against that in the 3D because it's really important that those things are available. And if you're watching this and you're in Ireland, live5dhealth.com is the healing center. It's donation based, so don't let money be an issue. We have lots of things, and we've got in the next 6 months we're going to have the best healing center in Europe. We're investing a huge amount of money into building this place out, and nobody is going to be left out of it. And also, I'd say, you know, the reason why I put on that event last week, there was a room full of people there, and people go and watch it on my Substack or my Rumble, or, you know, it's a 2-hour talk. And Kieran filmed it. And you remember Kieran, who made the film Where You At With. Thank you, Kieran, for doing it. And it was amazing, the anger in the room. I was quite surprised. People drove 6 hours to come to this event from all over the country, mainly all over Ireland. A lot of people came down from Northern Ireland, and Northern Ireland has been hit harder than anywhere, really. It's been the shit that was put on Northern Ireland over a very, very long period of time in a spiritual sense because of the troubles is massive. And the trauma processing that we saw in the room on Saturday was huge. So if you are feeling like that, find a live event. That's why I put these live events on. Come to it. You meet other people. I met an amazing woman there who said, right, I do the structured water, I do the salt before this, I've got the magnesium, the iodine, all the things I've talked about on the channel. I'm doing X, Y, Z and keeping my vibration high. And she was in an amazing condition and really upbeat. And that's the kind of person you want to go meet if you're feeling depressed, because that's why getting together is so important. When I did Truth Tour 2 with Lewis, I said on every venue that I went to, you're all points of light. You know, we form this grid of light. And that's the thing that the cabal tried to stop and failed. Because we are the ones that are doing this. Every one of us, not just people talking online, but every one of us that's resonating with what I'm saying is doing the work. And if you are in a state of depression, sorry, this is a long answer. If you are in a state of depression, I think that's because there are lessons still that you've got to go through and you've got to process. You know, and it doesn't end. You know, I've gone through 2 weeks of unbelievably frightening dreams that have woken me up at 3 a.m. and it's taken me an hour to get over them, because I'm still processing stuff from my own past and my own past lives, which is what we're all doing right now. Ultimately, again, I said this to the kids today, it's like the planet is going through the same thing that you would go through if you were really ill, with what we used to call inversion. And it's not very nice. When you've got real flu, it's horrible. There's loads of snot, diarrhea, stomach cramps, headaches, sweats, cold sweats. Can't sleep, can't do anything. And that can go on for days. I know some people will be watching this going, man flu. No, it's the same for women. It can be really horrible, right? And all this stuff is being purged, which is why there's all the fighting going on in the Truth movement, which is why we're seeing all these Satanists like King Charles releasing a satanic picture of himself. This is what it's all coming to the surface, which ultimately is going to be good. You just got to hold on in the meantime and understand that you're going through personal lessons on a micro level and on a macro level. And please remember, you're an eternal spirit having a human. So if you can get to that point, you get rid of fear. And if you get rid of fear, then you can learn to enjoy this process. Although I'm probably a sadomasochist, I don't know.
I love that we are an eternal spirit having a human experience. That's beautiful. And I don't think it's an accident that naturally, the word naturally, Ireland probably has some of the best water on the planet, but by the time it gets to your house, it's the worst water.
Yeah, it's been poisoned. Yeah.
That's exactly. It's completely intentional. And when I see that happen, like I see the food in the United States, it's because you're in a pretty damn special place, and they need to do everything they can to keep you sick, dummied down, and without discernment. So I'm not surprised at all because I hear so many things about the spiritual aspect and the history of Ireland. So I'm not surprised at all that you would be under attacks like that.
Well, it's not, you know, it's not, again, if you're watching this and you live in Holland, the same stuff's happening there. It's all happening all over the world. Africa,
Exactly.
It's happening everywhere, right? And it's not like Ireland's special and America's everywhere's special, actually. It's just that there's certain historical stuff and concentrations of energy that are happening. And this is why, you know, this is the land of saints and scholars, are also the land of fairies and you know, interdimensional entities. I mean, I've seen a dragon made of light here myself. I've seen elementals in multiple times. I've called in the ships multiple times here. It is a very powerful place. But you know, when we were in the States, we were followed by ships. We saw ships there. It's, you know, it's worldwide. But yeah, I suppose we focus on what we're experiencing. But
yeah, well, that's true. All right, so you know what? We're getting requests to play a poem of Mark Atwood, so I'm going to do that right now.